Wheelchairtraveling.com presents.
So hi, Ian. Great to have you here. So happy to finally meet you. Was so excited to read about your adventures on New Mobility magazine, and just had to talk to you. Had to talk to you about your story and your interest in parks. So first off, please tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, what is your story? Why are you in a wheelchair?
Well, thank you, Ashley. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to get to know you a little better as well. But yeah, how I got here. Let's see. So I was injured back in 2008. I'm a spinal cord injury. I'm paralyzed from the neck down. C2, C3. Complete is what I'm considered. But I broke my neck riding my bicycle home from college. I was going to UC Santa Cruz in 2008, and riding my bike kind of fast down the bike path, hit some sand, went headfirst into a tree, and then spent the next 3 months learning how to live as a paralyzed man at a rehab hospital.
Did you black out at all, or were you conscious the whole time?
So I'm sure that I must have lost consciousness, but I recall very well laying underneath that tree and looking up and realizing that I couldn't move or feel. And, biology was my background. I'd kind of recognized that I'd likely done something bad. And yeah, I was able to kind of call out to a woman walking up the trail and ask her to call 911.
So it seems like that you had a relationship with nature even prior to your injury.
Yeah.
Did you I mean, you obviously like to go biking, but what else did you like to do?
Sure. Well, I really love backpacking. I mean, that was one of two things I really enjoyed doing. I love backpacking, and I really had just started getting into bike touring. Okay, so like cross-state rides on a bike and having all your gear right on board there, and really enjoy just being out there with friends on the open road and or out in the woods and in national parks, backpacking around. I did a lot of field biology classes, and that's really what I wanted to do with my career, was go into maybe the community college level and take students out into nature. I mean, that was kind of what I was knowledgeable about, and my academic background was all about plants, and mainly plants and zoology.
Yeah, so you were a plant lover forever.
Oh yes, yes. I mean, even before that, right? I mean, I grew up on bikes and go-karts and being outside and fishing with my family, and yeah, so I've always had this connection to the outside. And I hope you're going to ask about the challenges after a spinal cord injury with getting outside, because sometimes that's a barrier.
Definitely, yeah. We'll definitely get there in a couple more questions. But
all right.
So just kind of want to know a little bit more about your relationship with nature. So why, in your own words, why is accessing nature important to you now?
All right, a couple things. I mean, again, I have a fondness, a real love, for the biological entwining of species out there. I love seeing how evolution has shaped our world, and it's exciting for me to go out and find unique examples of that. I also, again, I'm kind of systematic, and so I love to really just key out a plant or something, so find something I don't know. That's always really, really exciting to me. But I think another big aspect to it is conservation is important to me, and recognizing that in a lot of ways our outdoor spaces are at risk a little bit, or a big amount. And if people can't be out and see what they're trying to save and protect and conserve, then how are they really going to do it? And I think that has been really important for me to get out and see wild spaces. And I think, looking at now, that's the reason we need accessible, or at least access to spaces in the outdoors that wheelchairs can get to, or at least people with mobility challenges.
Definitely. So nowadays, I mean, obviously you just talked about, just kind of being outside and geeking out on, plants and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah.
But what other kind of activities do you like to do in the outdoors?
Are we talking now paralyzed or before?
Paralyzed, yeah.
Oh yes. All right. So first, I mean, there's just a very practical reason that I like going out there, and that's because being a high spinal cord injury, I spasm like crazy, right? I mean, I can take meds to manage that, but they only help so much. The best thing for me is to be out bouncing around, and so yeah, I go outside a lot just to really, my body wants to move, and my body enjoys it out there. But psychologically, um, I mean, sure, you're seeing the first crocus bloom of the year out on the trail, or seeing that first goldfinch coming in. Those are special moments, and those are moments I look forward to throughout the year. But I spend a lot of time on bike trails, right? The Olympic Discovery Trail is my home space that I'm on all the time, and I also really love the community that's out there, and they're like-minded individuals, and talking with others who value that space and want to talk about, hey, I saw a northern shrike back there or whatever. It's fun to connect with like-minded individuals.
Do you keep any kind of journals or records of plants or birds that you see?
No, I once did, and I've certainly kept life lists and year lists of birds. I mean, birding, I'm a big birder, but no, I've not done that in a few years. But I do. I should probably journal more, but I am slammed right now
Yeah.
with all sorts of stuff, and just haven't had time.
Yeah, no, I know, I understand. So you talked about one trail. What was that name of the trail that you love to?
The Olympic Discovery Trail. What's significant about it? I mean, it's nearly 100 miles long, and it's 75 miles of fully accessible sections. But it's also the westernmost section of the Great American Rail Trail, which was introduced just a few years back. And so we finally are having a separated trail that goes from coast to coast, and I'm excited to explore that.
And just for everybody who's listening right now, if you're not aware, that trail is actually at least starts in Washington. If you wanna look that up, sorry.
It starts in Washington D.C. on one end, and it finishes or starts in Washington State on the other end.
Yeah. Yes, Washington to Washington. So since you live in Washington, is there a part of that trail that you're particularly fond of? Or do you love all of it?
No. Come on, Ashley. It's like,
I know. Well, not to say not to say that one is better than the other, but just one that you just seem to gravitate more to.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are definitely highlights on that trail that I really love to show off. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but my nonprofit puts on an event that covers the entire length of it once a year for people to really come explore. But yeah, the Spruce Railroad Trail goes along Lake Crescent, and it's just stunning. It was just paved 2 years ago, and so the surface is spectacular, and the views are even better. Larry Scott Trail, it's in Port Townsend, more of a dirt trail, but it's kind of like a crushed basalt, crushed limestone. So it feels paved, and at least 7.5 miles or so through the woods, and you finish right there in the town of Port Townsend, which is beautiful. But we've got more than just the Olympic Discovery Trail. But I don't want to jump ahead, Ashley. I'll let you lead here with your questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, I mean, that's actually exactly kind of what I want to talk about a little bit more is, are there any other trails that come to mind that you want to give a shout out to in the Washington area?
Well, I'm just talking about my little area.
In your area, yeah.
I'm just focusing on, there's a lot of Washington stuff too, but one other, well, you're really getting into a bigger topic here. So Port Angeles, Washington, where I live, has become this destination spot for people with disabilities. I mean, we children, adults, adventurous, the ones that just want to go out and look at some birds. But sure, so we just 3 years ago up on Hurricane Ridge, which is the access point to Olympic National Park here in our area, they paved Hurricane Hill, it's called. And so now it's like 3 miles up this big, kind of steep, hairy hill. It's it's a little sketchy, but it's so beautiful, and the views and the vistas and these giant peaks all around you. I don't know, the rest of your life just kind of melts away up there. It's just a lot to see. So that's a really great thing. But in addition, we're getting off, and you can stop me here, Ashley.
No, it's okay.
But
Go
there
for
is
it.
just about, 2 years, no, maybe only 18 months ago, they introduced the Dream Playground here, and it's for kids. It's got, the accessible merry-go-round. The every section of the surface is easy for a chair to go into. All the structures are made for wheelchairs. Wheelchair swings. There's like musical gardens that people can go and play with. Just so cool for a kid in a chair that
Yeah.
has full access. Right next door to that, just less than a month ago, they introduced the first accessible pump track in the U.S. Okay, so now you have like this BMX experience that people can have in a wheelchair, and I'm in a I'm paralyzed from the neck down. I'm a C2, C3. I have no trunk support at all. I'm out there, flinging around my upper body, but hey, I'm having fun doing it, and it's really cool that kids are having that opportunity. And I just love that our little town, our little community is addressing and acknowledging that people with mobility challenges need these pieces of infrastructure as well.
Something that you were talking about kind of caught my attention, and I was wondering if you had an opinion on this. When you encounter a really steep part of a trail and you're worried about kind of tipping forward or sliding around too much, do you always go forward down a steep portion of a trail, or will you actually flip around and go backwards down a trail?
Yeah, well, first of all, much prefer going up, right? Going up is so much easier than going down.
Yeah.
But no, I'm pretty comfortable going. I wouldn't go backwards. I'm a sip and puff user also, and there'd be additional challenges with just driving backwards like that. And I don't have enough neck mobility where I could see behind me. And there'd be a little bit of guessing going on. But no,
I make sure you're secured.
Yeah, sure. And I wear a chest strap and a seatbelt wherever I go. But I'm, pretty aggressive trail user out there, and I like the steep stuff. I tilt back, right? I actually have a switch on my head that allows me to tilt. So while I'm driving, I can do that.
Yep.
And then if I start to feel a little uncomfortable with the angle, I just tilt back a little further.
Yep. Keep that balance. Yeah, no, that's a great tip.
But also, in the beginning, it took a long time for me to get that kind of confidence and having support, having a crew, having folks with you that want to also enjoy an outdoor space that are able-bodied. I say, okay, grab the headrest or whatever. I'm not sure they really could stop my 600-pound chair from doing what it's going to do, but it might give me a little extra confidence.
Yes. So besides, I know you're located in the state of Washington. So besides where you're already located, where else, in the United States or the world, in terms of outdoor places would you love to go to? Like what's, on the dream bucket list?
Well, I don't know about the dream bucket list, man. One thing this September, we would talk about the Great American Rail Trail. I'll be doing the first 500 miles of it, starting in DC and finishing in Ohio. So I'm really excited to do that. Now that entire trail is not finished, probably about 50% complete, but that 500 miles is complete. And I think rail trails are a real opportunity for people in power wheelchairs. I feel like the cycling infrastructure is pretty much on par with what I need, and so I'm really happy to encourage rail trails. But we'll also partner with like United Spinal to get folks out there with us in chairs. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. Had a lot of fun in Hawaii about 5 years ago exploring Volcanoes National Park. That was really beautiful. Really would be interested in traveling outside of our country to see what else is out there. But ADA challenges elsewhere tend to be significant sometimes.
Yeah, definitely depends where you go. I definitely would like to point out, for some reason I'm thinking that New Zealand and Australia, there's definitely some trails there that I think would be your jam.
For sure. No, and I actually Dynamic is partially out of there, and they create motors and electronics for wheelchairs, and I consult with them, and they've talked with me about some of the beautiful opportunities down there.
Yeah, some great access.
It's a long flight, but it would be a lot
of fun. It is. That's the only kicker. That's the only kicker from where we're located. So without further ado, I want to talk about the article and new mobility. Like I said, I read the article, how you took the streets, advocating and promoting, for more access in the outdoors. So tell me all about that. Like, what was?
Well, first, I better clear up what article we're talking about, because I've been in a few in new mobility. Are we talking about one from a few years back? Because a more recent one would have been about my Guinness World Record that I recently.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the Guinness World Record one.
Yeah. So again, my nonprofit is all about advocacy. Okay, supporting people.
What's the name of your nonprofit?
All right. Yes, Ian's Ride. All right, Ian'sRide.com. You can check it all out. But no, all right, we're gonna have to back up a little bit to give you a little backstory. Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump into this the challenges of getting outside shortly after a spinal cord injury. Is that all right? Is it an appropriate time for that?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, when I was first injured, I mean, it was a super dark time for me. I was 26 years old, trying to figure out what the heck my life looks like now. We all have plans and goals, and and those things can change in a blink of an eye. And that's kind of what happened. And I couldn't live with my roommates in college anymore, and so I had to move up where my family was in Port Angeles, Washington, leaving those connections, leaving your education, leaving those relationships, challenging, right? And then I'm 26 and I'm living with my mom again. And
Ian, I'm terribly sorry. Give me just one second.
No problem.
Sorry, there was an unexpected noise that started to occur.
No problem. No problem.
Interfere, but yeah, sorry. Continue.
No, I don't want to drag this on too long. But mainly, I was at home and I'm saying, okay, I'm on a ventilator for the first year. I really lost my voice. I didn't speak, and I spent a lot of time playing video games and watching the Andy Griffith Show. And I thought that kind of might be what my life would be going forward. And eventually I did get out on that Olympic Discovery Trail, and I started to explore more. And I kind of found my happiness. I realized, what the hell am I doing? I needed to focus on what I've always loved and embrace that. And so, yeah, I started exploring, going further and further. I started just doing 1 mile alone, and I was so nervous that I was going to have respiratory challenges or something. But, I made it back, and then soon I'm doing 5, 10, 30 miles a day. And then I've eventually exhausted all the new places to see in my area, and I wanted to kind of go a little bit further. And so, I mentioned that I had this passion for bike touring before I was injured, and had some really good friends that were involved in that world. And I reached out to them and said, hey, what do you think about taking the wheelchair across the state of Washington? And they were on board. And so we did. And in 2016, I rode from Canada down to Portland, from north to south. And, it really changed my world. I didn't have a nonprofit until after that. And I realized that it was a lot bigger than just me. And it was a way for me to talk to politicians and legislation makers to actually get more infrastructure out there for folks like me. I mean, I got to go and talk with the governor after the fact. But anyway, we did this, and it was empowering. But I also saw how difficult it really was. I mean, I had to raise a lot of money. I had to find a lot of individuals to come help me. I needed a lot of support, and it seemed out of reach for a lot of people. And so I started in 2019 a really cool event called Sea to Sound. And Sea to Sound.
Sea to Sound, yes.
Yeah, the Sea to Sound. Salish Sea to the Puget Sound is really what it is. Okay. And it was a way that over 3 days, people could explore the entire Olympic Discovery Trail over 75 miles. But they could then have this similar experience that I did and do it fully supported, right? I mean, I have all these fleet of wheelchair vans and shuttle buses, and I have a Boy Scout troop out there ready to push wheelchairs as either manual chairs run out of steam or power chairs run out of battery. But to give others a similar opportunity to do really cool things that I was able to do, meant the world to me. And so then I really just started focusing on putting together little events.
Wait, I gotta ask. So the first group that you did, how many people showed up for it?
Oh, I mean, we probably the first year maybe 30 wheelchairs we had.
Wow.
But still, even that was great, right? I mean,
yeah, that's a ton of people. That's a lot.
Yeah, in our little town, it was a great it was a great turnout.
And so how many years have you been?
This is going to be our 4th year, and
fourth year,
the pandemic got a little tricky, but 50 is what we've been around, 50 wheelchair users.
Oh my gosh!
At least that many able-bodied folks to be out there assisting, and people just join to ride their bikes along, because again, there's 8 stations every 5 miles, and they can get shuttled wherever they need to go.
And then you help them kind of arrange for like accommodations or something like that nearby, or is that something that they do on their own? Or
yeah, so the lodging aspect is an added challenge, and being in a small town, there's only so much available.
Yeah,
and that's often a barrier that I'm working to getting scholarships and things so that people can do it more readily, because often financial barriers are the most challenging to get around. But doing this, I also saw so many smiles and so such a rewarding thing for people to do. And we also then had Ride to Homa, which is basically Mount Rainier. We take people up to go explore. Then we just started Ride the Ridge here on Olympic National Park. But I'm spending a lot of time doing event planning for others. But once in a while, now I'm finally getting back to your question, Ashley. I have to. I like to do something that's got a little more pizzazz, a little more competitive, and that is when I started looking at this Guinness World Record. So the record was for the furthest distance traveled in 24 hours in a mouth-controlled power wheelchair. It turns out, of all the controls, that is the highest. So that is really just the furthest distance traveled in a power wheelchair in 24 hours. And I managed 184 miles. And yeah, it was a long day, and it was miserable. I mean, anything you do for 24 hours really sucks.
I'm like, were you half asleep at one point? Just kind of.
I was able to stay awake, but I certainly experienced. People told me, "Oh, you're going to hit walls," and yeah, I hit walls, but I didn't realize the kind of emotional lows that I would experience. I mean, you're going along, and you have. My success was completely because of the wonderful support that was around me. But you're going, and your body is just telling you, no, stop, and your brain is saying no more. But you don't want to let down the people around you. You don't want to let yourself down. You make such plans for things, and you really want to, to complete the goal you set out.
Challenge yourself, challenge that mental and physical barrier that you have.
But and I knew there'd be challenges, but there were some big lows. But I think that
I'm sure that led to self-discovery,
exactly, right? I mean, first, anything worth doing, is often difficult. But yeah, I certainly I certainly feel that the monumental achievement, the great feelings we had afterwards were because of the lows we experienced during that event. I feel like I'm going off track.
If everything was easy, then you walk in the park, but you gotta be challenged a little bit. So
but we had a bunch of other folks in chairs there to cheer me on, and again, seeing that kind of community aspect is another real motivator when you're out there.
No, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel the same way. I mean, it's the whole reason why I created my website, and why I called it wheelchairtraveling.com and not, Ashley, like Ashley's things. I just want it to be, about, everybody's experience, and, from all different walks of life. Question for you. So for the camp and stuff that you do, have you ever thought about actually doing camping as opposed to, having people trying to find accommodations? Have you ever tried to
Yeah,
can't be more accessible with like cots and that kind of a thing. It seems like you have the crew, to help it all make it happen.
I love the idea. There's a lot of logistics behind that, and we have a lot of very high injury. We have ventilator dependent, folks out there, and I'm not. I get a little concerned with possible skin issues on a cot or something, but no, there is a solution, and we need to track that down, and we need to figure that out, because we do feel like that's one of the biggest barriers right now to joining our event is the expense of lodging.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely get some power generators, get some Roho
Totally.
mattress cushions, and whatnot to
Hey,
make those
we
cots,
we got sponsors galore, and I'm sure we could reach out to those to
Yeah.
try to make that happen. But yeah, everyone has different needs, and that's the challenging aspect of making an event like this. Is if it's fully supported, it's got to be fully supported, and it's really interacting with each person and saying, okay, what are the expectations, and what needs might you have during this event?
Definitely. Okay, so I'm definitely running out of time. So I have a couple more questions that I want to try to address, and I'll throw them kind of all out there and however you want to answer them, because they're kind of interrelated. So I'm curious on, and some of these things you have kind of touched upon a little bit, but I want to hear more of your thoughts on, what blocks people from wheelchairs from accessing the outdoors. What's the kind of infrastructure that we need? Like, what are we looking for? And in the same line, like, what kind of accessible features do you want to see more of? What needs to be done to create more access in nature? What makes you excited?
Yeah. So a big direction I'm going to go here is I don't want to pave the world, right? I mean, I'm okay with something that's not ADA. I don't need it to be ADA to go have fun and explore. But what I really would love is to be provided the information I need to make that decision from a trailhead. And there are some parks out there that are doing really cool things with just having some information. Okay, here's how long the trail is. Here's what the surface type is. Here's the side slope. Here's the up and down slope you should expect. But I want, when people are designing a trail for a park, do not, put a damn curb in the way. Do not make, or not a curb, but steps or whatever in the way. I mean, those are going to restrict certain individuals, and it's easy enough to have alternatives to that when designing. And so, yeah, I think it's important for the information to be at a trailhead, and I think it's important for designers to really be considerate of all users when making that design. One other thing is, there's really great apps out there like TrailLink or All Trails, and they are becoming better and better with things like filters for wheelchair accessible. Unfortunately, that usually means ADA, which means it's a quarter-mile paved trail that has no elevation gain, and it's maybe not as fun as it could be otherwise. But I would love to see these trail websites or apps start to include more and more information for people with mobility challenges.
It's definitely happening, and I'm actually personally working with alltrails.com, and I know there's a couple other people reporting about trails and access, and they're also closely working with alltrails.com. But I agree about wanting to know information, about the non-accessible trails.
Of course.
It's one thing if you're in a manual chair, and like pushing, kind of on a flat surface is your jam, but sometimes even I might want a challenge in my manual chair. But for sure, if I have my power wheelchair, oh my goodness, I can go up and down hills. So I just need to know, is it wide enough? Is there a cross slope that's going to be, hindering, not going to allow me to pass? Like, I just need to know the information so I can make up my own mind about a trail. Just give me some information so I can decide.
Exactly, and you working with All Trails, and it's a call to action to our community, because the information on these sites is only going to be as valuable as the information we're putting in there. No one else is doing it. It's going to be us, and so
we have to give our opinions through our eyes and our experiences. We're the only ones that know. Okay, wheeling on this trail. Okay, if you're in a power wheelchair, like, it's going to be a little bit hard on your balance, or the terrain is going to get a little gnarly after a certain, point in time. You're going to have to be used to being, bouncing around or something like that, or going over roots. And if that's okay, then that's okay. But you still need to know this information. Maybe you're having a good day and bouncing on a couple of roots for 20 minutes is fine. But maybe bouncing on for 2 hours is not going to be your jam some days. And that's okay.
And it would be amazing if there was established metrics out there that we all could use, but we all have different needs, right? And so
Yeah.
it gets tricky when we're all, it's, comparing a trail and it's apples to oranges, unfortunately. But I think it's also important for us to create communities, online communities, whatever, where we can share the information that we find, or we can just encourage others to go explore and to advocate for what they love.
Yeah, we got it. We got to map out this world. And again, I fully agree with not paving over the rainforest, as I like to say. Like, I'm, nobody's looking to do that, but I feel like there's so many trails that I have been to that because they create an accessible trail, that it actually keeps everybody on that trail. So it actually increases sustainability for the forest and the natural environment, where you don't have people kind of wandering off the trail, trampling on the natural environment. It keeps everybody on a designated path. It just happens to be accessible for everybody.
When you build for the margins, you make a better product for the masses, and
Yes.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So Ian, one more time, like please tell me your website and any contact information and
My
websites you
plugs.
want to give.
Give me some plugs here. Okay, now iansride.com. Check it out. We have some really cool events that we do. Sea to Sound is amazing, and a lot of people are unable to do it in person. We also have a virtual option. You're supporting a great cause, and you get our cool swag and finisher medal, and you can do it at your own pace on your own trail. But most of all, the one request I have out there is get outside. Be it your little garden in your backyard, or a national park, or pursuing a world record. Whatever, go and spend some time outside. Nature's the best medicine, and you'll be happier once you're done.
Yeah, get outside, get dirty. It's good for you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ian, again. And I know we're going to be in touch many, many times, and I hope to work with you on project in the future. And I'm just so proud and honored to have you here and to share what you're doing, because it's incredible and we need more people like you out there in the world.
You too, Ashley. I love what you're doing, and we'll certainly be in touch.
Please like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. And visit wheelchairtraveling.com.